The following program contains violence, disturbing imagery, nudity, and, oh my God, why are you even watching this? Just run away. This shit is going to give you nightmares. For real. Nightmares where you are running naked on a treadmill made of razor blades, and your third grade teacher is pointing and laughing at you. And even if you survive the treadmill with your feet intact, she is going to tell you that you flunked the third grade, which negates all the rest of your achievements. The program is rated TV MA NSFW OMFG GAF TTV BYGAS. It is unsafe for epileptics. It kills lab rats. Why are you still here? This show came out of the dark recesses of a coked-up guy's mind who has just been given too much privilege and access and now just takes a depraved delight in disturbing and scaring you. In fact, if we're being totally honest here, the original creator never expected a third season pickup, so now he's just trying to think of creative ways to kill the characters off. Seriously, don't watch this. We can't warn you strongly enough. Do you need a doctor of some kind? What is the matter with you?
Another Dance with the Wolves. Tonight's episode 101. My brother David Childers coming out for a bit of an uncensored dance. He and I did the radio show last year. He's a really cool guy. And then we met later on in the fall. And there's a dynamic sometimes when you engage with people. Those of us that dance in these spectrums know how to read people. Now, does that mean we're always right? No. But repeated interactions, and those actions do speak louder than words. I feel very confident in saying that this is one of the good guys, to somebody that I really enjoy talking with. I appreciate not only his knowledge, but, his perceptions on such. And it gives me hope, gives me strength. So I tend to go back to certain things. I wanted to really have him on the podcast where I could kind of just let him go a little bit. And he's a solid guy. You know what I mean? He'll dance the edges where they are, but he's a consummate professional, as well as being somebody that genuinely gives a shit. So, as always, the thoughts, expressions, opinions, viewpoints, fuckery, and everything like that is mine and mine alone, unless it's coming from Dave or it's coming from somebody else. You want to share in it, that's great. It's why I put it out here. It's why I don't bury this into the pay services. Some of this is the dynamic of archiving these elements through YouTube, so that way people can go back. Maybe they'll hear something. Maybe it'll plant a seed, as it's been famously said. Take what you need, leave the rest behind. A couple of things I want to get out of the way, as they say, to start off. And one of the things that I do like to try and do in supporting local elements, be they here right in Rochester, New York, or if they're in other places. So the first one that I'm going to get to is a place that I'm going to be this Saturday, and it's a benefit for Mike Saporito, Zippy, who's been a volunteer firefighter within this community for many years. I know his sister Kim. So when he was diagnosed with ALS, and obviously the shit hit the fan, people in his circle, his family, stepped up and said, listen, we got to do something. And I wholeheartedly believe in this element of taking care of the people around us, especially those that make it a point to take care of us. People like volunteer firefighters, nurses, teachers, okay? And is that to say that everybody? No. But, again, the actions speak louder than words. So I feel confident again in this dynamic. I believe it's something that's worthwhile. So yes, Saturday, March 2nd, 5 p.m. over at Pineapple Jack's. It's going to be the benefit for Mike. It's going to be a couple of bands there. It's a $10 admission. They're going to have t-shirts, 50-50, raffle baskets, all that type of stuff. They've got a GoFundMe going if you can't actually get out there, or if you'd like to get one of the t-shirts, you can go online, social media and all that. Look up the benefit for Mike Saporito, and that's Saporito. And I believe, and my hearing sight is not always the best. It's a little bit difficult sometimes when you're doing the podcast with, framing and things like that. I originally designed this to be audio only, but obviously sometimes a picture says 1,000 words. You could reach out to Lisa _Secor, SECOR at yahoo.com. You can order t-shirts or find out more information if it's something that you're inclined. And hey, if you're up here in the Rochester, New York vicinity and you want to come hang out, yeah, the wolf is coming out of the cave and he's going to do what he does. So I'll be out there personally. I also got, and I'm going to pull this up right here. Yes. March 2nd, this weekend as well, Brother Dave Childers is going to be over at the Haunted Samuel Miller Mansion. Okay, that's going to be from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. Not sure if there are even any tickets left for this, but let me tell you something. If you're into the adventure type of scene, this is a place to definitely take it to heart. You'll learn some stuff and you'll get some really great insight. And, again, knowledge is power. The things that we don't understand tend to be the things that fuck us up. So again, in supporting my brother and what he does, and I'll be talking about some of his other events going on through the year. Okay. I also wanted to bring this one out as well, too. And it's the Rock Against Dystrophy show. This is going to be March 23rd down the Jersey Shore. It's for the brothers. My brother Tattoo Tony Rodriguez is putting on a show. He's got Negative Sky and Who on Earth performing, but he's also got an all-star band for you metal folks that's really off the wall. Bobby Blitz, Mark Tornillo, Chris Cafferty, David DePietro, Danny Watts, John, J.D. DeServio, Black Label Society. John's a fucking cool guy. A lot of other great people, guys from, Pete Farina from Lords of Mercy. I mean, that's a Jersey thing right there for sure. So this is something, and all the proceeds are going to go to fight muscular dystrophy in Turbo and his brother Josh's name. This has been something, again, that's been going on for a number of years through the Under My Skin for Life Foundation and others. So it's something, again, that I feel very, very strongly about. And again, you can find out more online, social media, all those groovy places. So let me see what else we got here. It's hard to keep track of all these things sometimes. You got so many different things going on. I'm trying to get better. I'm on my own. That's what it was. I knew I was forgetting something else that was going on this weekend. Yes, you all know her, Shia, a.k.a. Lady Shia, a.k.a. My Witch. She's going to be a guest reader down at Hemlock House, Fort Worth, Texas area. I'm 90% confident, but you can reach out to Shia. You can find her, ladyshia.com. And she's been running around with my sister Jess down there in Texas on another one of their Odyssey quest type of things. Somebody's got to do it, and she's as good a witch as any to be out there doing it. So much love and support to them. But yeah, she's going to be doing a live reading, and she's also been doing live readings up here, Mythic Treasures, here in Rochester, another really cool groovy place. We'll be talking more about them throughout the year and some of the events that are going on. Now, one of the other things that I've been known to do in this show is promote elements of bands. Okay. And this is a band that I have been following for years. Some guys that I know through not only the Rock Against Dystrophy circles, but the metal scene here in the tri-state area. That band is Annika, my brother Pete Palace. They just dropped a new album a couple days ago called The Oblivion Call. Some really, really cool stuff on it. Really nice piece of work. So much love and shout out to my brothers out there in Brooklyn. They'll be doing some shows later in the year. They'll be floating around. Always a great time catching them. Really great band live. I saw them again last year. And they've been doing this for a while, and it shows. You know what I mean? They have that natural tightness. They enjoy what they do. It's not something that's forced. And again, in many ways, that's where the core magic begins. So we're going to take a break with one of their new tracks called The Other Side of Nowhere. And then I'm going to grab my brother Dave, and we're going to come back and we're going to dance. So sit back, enjoy a little bit of Annika, and then we're going to go for a ride. All right, so good evening. I have my brother, Dave Childers, here joining us, and we're going to talk about some of the stuff he does, some of the things that he's seen, and obviously some of the things that are swirling around in the shadows that most of us do not understand. But my brother Dave has seen, and he knows better what's lurking out there in the darkness. Dave, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me.
Hey, how's it going, man? Thank you again for wanting me to come back on and, chatting with you. Had a blast last time. I mean, every time we talk, we just have an awesome, time.
We have a lot in common. We think in similar ways. We have similar backgrounds, and we both believe in the dynamics that there are a lot of aspects of energy that we don't understand, and that energy carries over. It influences, it affects. There are some aspects of it, like we were joking, earlier, that not unlike radiation, a lot of people don't realize it until it's too late, until their hair is falling out and their face melts off. But, you've been doing this for a while, and you dance in some interesting circles. You're not afraid to speak on the things that you believe, but you're also not afraid to support the dynamics of what you believe and how it affects other people.
Right. Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Now, why don't you tell folks who are not familiar with what you do, in your own words, as a paranormal investigator?
Well, basically, I've been in the paranormal field, for about 27 years now. I started whenever I was young. Whenever I first saw my first full body apparition in Vicksburg, Mississippi, it was actually at the Woodline. See, and our property is family property, and it was a big part of the Civil War. So I was outside, and back then I was acting like I was Crocodile Dundee, and I was out there with my snakeskin boots on and all that, and it was dusk, and I was just out there just being a kid, and next thing you know, I look at the Woodline, I see a full-body apparition, Civil War soldier, had full beard and everything. I ran inside, told my dad about it. He was like, yeah, it's just your imagination, this and that. And that was my first experience, and it just went on from there. Over the years, just been doing research and trying to figure out other, theories that are out there as well that other investigators have picked up and they've researched, and, just learned from other investigators in the field, and even people that weren't investigators that had first time experiences, and got them to take down notes with the times and the dates and what, what season it was, this and that, just went from there and tried to actually see what goes bumped in the night and try to debunk it or prove it does exist.
Now, you made a great point, and this seems to be a common narrative with folks, especially when they have experiences younger. Adults tend to fucking dismiss children. You know what I mean? They don't want to hear what they have to say. They chalk it up to imagination, emotions, et cetera, et cetera. But you didn't let that hold you back. You knew, you made the connection, and I know from the last time we talked at an early age that this was real. Even if nobody else saw it or believed it, you knew, and it kind of planted a seed with you that has carried with you for a number of years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what, whenever people have these experiences, if you were at a younger age and you had your experiences, or even whenever you're an adult and you have these experiences, a lot of people they're afraid to tell, even their closest friend, because they're afraid of being ridiculed. Don't hold back from it. Do not hold back from it. Let, somebody that you trust really well, and tell them experience, because you never know. They could probably have, something, the same experience, or maybe they know somebody, one of their other friends that had an experience, or maybe their family member had an experience. And, yeah, definitely talk about it. Don't hold back, because there's so much stuff out there that people don't understand about.
Well, some of the dynamic, again, goes back to the simple scientific analogy of energy and matter and how that translates. And again, some of it is the obvious dynamics. People want to just stay comfortable in their own little plastic bubbles. And, you can't blame them to certain degrees, but you have learned along the way how much of a double-edged sword that is. It's actually dangerous, because the things we don't understand now, we are vulnerable to in many ways. And there's a cause and effect, especially in this day and age where information and things like fear have been weaponized. They've been weaponized to a degree to tell people, no, don't fucking think like this, think like that. Don't say this, say that, dress like this, don't dress like that. And it's become polarized in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. And yeah, I mean, there's so many manifestations out there. You can do a manifestation of just about anything if you really want it and you use your mind to it. And yeah, that could be a dangerous weapon. It really could. If you truly believe in something, yes, it will eventually happen.
Well,
I mean, yeah, it's also leftover energy too, as well. And that leftover energy could get stronger and stronger. All right, put it this way. For 30 years, you come home, you sit in your favorite recliner, you turn the TV on, you do that same routine over and over again. You're going to have, why couldn't leftover energy be trapped on that object, say that chair or whatever? All right. And say you pass away, then one of your family members comes over there and they start using that chair. That's double the energy that's going to happen to it. And why couldn't that create like this bigger ball of energy and, make it more powerful? And then, I mean, it just gets deep and it could get dark. It really could.
Well, not unlike a battery, certain things absorb energy. And you used the earlier analogy, your first experience with the Civil War site. You've also talked about some of the places that you visited, and there are places in our world that are more sensitive or more receptive to different types of energy, be it dark, be it light, because we've seen examples on both ends of the spectrum. But the darker ones tend to obviously be pushed more back into the shadows because, let's be honest, it's fucking scary, it's unsettling, and you've made a great point of it. It's fucking dangerous many times. It's not something that everybody should just jump into nilly-willy, because if you don't know what you're doing, there are real cause and effects from it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, definitely. Now, we used to, I started off, I was a weekend warrior. I started off in cemeteries, this and that, because I wanted to be a ghost hunter, just like on TV or on the internet. Back then, I think it was only one show that was out. And we just jumped right into it. We didn't know what the fuck we were doing. We just went out there because we wanted the adrenaline rush.
But the wake up call was like, oh, shit.
Yeah, it was. Whenever I got my first attachment, that was totally the wake up call. And I didn't know how dark it was, how dark it could be. There's so much stuff out there like elementals and non-human and even the non-human manifestations that us as humans can create. We can create these entities. You've heard of you create your own demons. Well, there's a good example right there. There's a reason why that was said. And and people always talk about they're haunted. There's a reason, because you probably manifested that. That could also go back to the poltergeist activity. You're manifesting it, and you were talking about the dark. Another part of the dark side of it. It's like some of these objects out there, like say Ouija boards. I think it's stereotyped. I've used them as a tool. It depends on how you use that object. I mean, a Ouija board is just like a freaking voice recorder. Or
a guitar. If you don't know how to play
exactly.
it's just a bunch of mumbo. It doesn't have any real structure to it. It's just It's chaos.
Yep, I totally agree with you. And it depends on how you use that tool as, how you want it. How do you want it to be used as? Like, say, the Ouija board. Say if you have one in the past that somebody has done some dark stuff to, done some, tried to do some Wiccan spells or something like that with some binding and ended up screwing it up and pulled in something that a non-human entity that has just been lingering around in the dark, and they use it and they screwed it up. Next thing you know, you're using that object and you're like, you ended up pulling that thing into you, and now you have an attachment, not into you but into your area because you invited it in, type thing. You just gotta be careful and know what you do. Also have people as backup as well that can help you out in certain situations if shit goes sideways. And that's another reason that I sit here. I'm a Christian, I'm a God-fearing person, but also I'll follow other religions because you never know what you're going to run into, what that spirit or non-human spirit is going to relate to. How are you going to push it away? What kind of religion are you going to use? What kind of faith are you going to use? Type thing. So it gets very technical.
But you make a great point, and it's something that you and I talked about when we met last year and we talked in person. that things tend to get distorted over time. And you used a great analogy within the framework of religion. True spirituality and belief is a beautiful thing, regardless of where it's imposed upon, be it Christianity, be it this or be it that. But you're also open-minded to the degree to understand that these are just faces on the same narrative. And you've explored it historically, like I have, that these things have carried forward through time. So pieces of the new are reflected from the old. They tend to, interact and change and evolve and stuff like that. And a lot of people have, again, taken this narrative that there can only be one God and my God is better than yours. And if you don't subscribe to my God, blah, 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 everything that goes with it. You've taken the actual truer interpretation of love, tolerance, acceptance, like the great analogy. People talk about Christianity, they talk about Jesus, but Jesus cast the moneylenders out of the temple. He hung out with lepers and whores, and we don't really see that reflective in the modern day structure. We see it in individuals like yourself, but the narrative has become, again, weaponized. God says this is my interpretation of God. Sometimes it becomes magic underwear, sometimes it becomes this, but ultimately it's what we do with it, I think, and I'm pretty sure you agree with me, that defines it. It's not something that is so static that there isn't any, shift in it. And I think that's one of the things that's been lost in the polarization these days. If you're Muslim over here, you must be this. If you're a fundamental Christian, you have to be that. Instead of looking at the more open-ended narrative of humanity and how we relate and interact with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 100%.
Now, what have you learned along the way? Because obviously you have your core framework of your beliefs. Where do you see that actually shifted? Where did it really begin to change, at least within the framework of Christianity?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's ever changed. It's been up and down over the years in different kinds. Even, with Christianity, you see how Christianity back in the day was with the witch trials, and how it's changed now. Because, it was pagan, it was still Catholic. And religion is just definitely a touchy subject because it's all over the place. Even with one religion, it's all over the place. The whole thing is you just have to sit here. Just my opinion is you follow whatever you have faith in. That's what you have faith in. If I have faith in a pencil, that's what I'm going to go for. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm going to have faith in it and I'm going to follow that pencil. That's going to be my higher power type.
It goes back to the manifestation element. What you put into it tends to reflect what you're going to get out of it.
Exactly, 100%. And I'm not saying that being blasphemy or whatever like that, because like I said, I believe in God. That's who my go-to person is, God. But it's true that it goes back to the manifestation, just like what you said. If you truly believe in something, it will happen. It will happen.
Well, I guess the narrative becomes that science and religion do not have to be these separate elements. Because 200 years ago, we both would have been burnt at the stake for heresy for even suggesting that there's a correlation between fucking religion and science and historical elements because, the powers that be. And it tends to be reflective of people. It's not that the word is wrong. It's not that the concept is wrong. It's what people do with it. And many times, like everything within our human condition, quote unquote, it's weaponized. Mm-hmm. It's used for other purposes outside of what the context originally was.
Right. Yep.
Now, have you experienced, and we had touched a little bit about this when we had talked last time, that certain frameworks of manifestations or whatever, again, you want to call it, do reflect different time periods. So, something from a particular element may have more of a Christian Judea type of framework, like a devil, demon, but it might go back to something much older, be it Egyptian or Sumerian and things. And you've seen elements that really correlate based on the details more so than the stereotypical legend lore element.
Right. You mean such as
you made an example that you study and look at other religions and other elements of history, because not everything is cut and dry. It's like not everything is Dante's Inferno. Sometimes it's much older, based in other belief systems, and energy still translates. You know, it doesn't matter if it's a Sumerian demon or a Christian demon. These are just faces that we put on it.
Right. Yeah. And it's just it's just amazing how over time period, like we were just talking about, how the religions have changed completely. So, you know, if you're sitting here and you're trying to manifest something, okay, trying to manifest, hey, look, all right, say you looking for your guardian angel, okay, and you're trying to manifest, you know, thinking about it, would it be something of nowadays or would it be something from back then? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Would it be a darker, or would it be something that's just newly like resurrected, or something that has done adapted to the time period of today, of the people we are today? Or is it going to be still stuck in that same era back then? You know, how would that happen? You know, I mean, does it happen? Do whatever you manifest, whatever your guardian angels or your spirit guides, are they able to adapt to nowadays? Or are they still stuck back then?
Well, you have explored, like I have, and you've explored it obviously much deeper and within a broader range, but there are places, okay, especially older places. Like when I was out in the Southwest and I visited some Native American reservations and stuff, there are elements that are way outside the context of Christianity or any type of our accepted, I guess you would call them, religions and stuff, and reflect the time period of their beliefs, their philosophies, and their energy. And they have, again, left an imprint, you know, not unlike a photograph, you know what I mean? They're there. You may not interpret it the same way, depending upon your experience and your perspectives and stuff, but it doesn't make it any less real. What are some of the things that you've encountered that would fit into that narrative?
Oh, man.
Or whatever comes to the top of your head.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a few situations that I've been involved in. I think one of them was at the Conjuring House. No, matter of fact, it was one of them that was at the Bonnie and Clyde Ambush Museum. It was actually right down the road, the kill site where they were basically assassinated. They were murdered at, you know, and shot down. It was so, that area right there, I really do think it does have some sort of Native, you know, American history to it, because it's in Louisiana, Slidell, Louisiana. I mean, there's Indian mounds and all that stuff out there. It's totally different energy. Now we were out there, and actually we were talking about Stormy Daniels on the last show. You know, one of my good friends, great investigator. She has definitely got some amazing abilities of, you know, picking up on spirit, this and that. I would definitely call her, you know, she has, you know, medium type stuff and gifts, abilities. And we were out there and we were investigating with the wood line where they were shot at. And next thing you know, we just saw this black mass. It was weird. It was like 6 foot tall. All right. You remember what the Grinch looks like? Okay. Like, you know, Jim Carrey as the Grinch had the long, you know, hairy fingernails type thing. That's what it looked like. It was just 6 foot tall, black, real skinny, slender. And it was just darkest black. It was darker than the freaking, you know, the woods. And that's how how its hands were. It was the freakiest thing. And we're sitting here, and she saw it, I saw it, and 5 other people saw it, and it was pacing back and forth by the wood line. And we're just getting this feeling that this right here is something totally different. This is something darker, something. I mean, I don't think it
something older.
Yeah, it's something older, something ancient. And could it go back to that day? Could it go back to, you know, whenever, you know, there was Indian reservations there and all that, and the Civil War and blah, blah, blah. And could it be in that area of the Civil War when, you know, we don't know, but yet could it be something that was manifested by humans. People go out there all the time to try either communicate or talk to Bonnie or Clyde or whatever. They go out there all the time and they're trying to find something. They're trying to look for something. Could it be all these people's energy just going out there wanting to communicate with Bonnie and Clyde, but Bonnie and Clyde's not there? So this non-human entity gets manifested from our energy, and now something really is there. It's not there. It's not spirit. It's a non-human manifestation that we have created to try to communicate, and we don't know. We have no idea, but it felt like it was totally off, totally different kind of energy. It did feel like something ancient.
Well, no, go ahead.
I think it was there before then. I really do. And I think just the manifestation of of everybody going out there. And I think that just made it stronger and stronger for us able to make it self-known, put it that way, for it to make it visible to us.
Well, if you connect the dots, especially from a historical context, obviously there were things that were happening before Christianity had any play in things. You look at old Egyptian lore, you look at old elements from Aztec Mayan cultures, you look at old Greek elements, and there were still a lot of references and narrative regarding the darker things, quote unquote.
Yes.
So there's always been an element of that within the human experience. And, some of it, again, unfortunately gets lost in the slide of time. Things get overwritten, they get rewritten, they get compromised. We both know this from pagan elements that got adopted during the years that became now a framework of Christianity, things like Christmas and Easter and stuff like that, again, had a different framework 200, 800, 1,000 years ago, but now we are conditioned to look at it in this particular way. So when you talk about elements of magic and energy and stuff, they've always been with us.
Yeah, exactly. And how could we deal? How could we be equipped to actually deal with something like that if we don't understand how it was done back then, how the rituals were done, this and that? How could we sort of say if we had something, a non-human entity or whatever from back then, an ancient darkness or whatever you want to call it, ancient energy, how could we sit here if it was in the house and attacking us, spiritually? How could we sit here and stop it or push it away? Because we don't know what they did back then. There's records, I'm sure, but how would you acquire them?
Well, unless you go exploring and looking for that type of stuff, it's not something you're just going to randomly find sitting on in a coffee book table or something like that. You have to dig deep.
And how would you know if you did it right?
Yeah.
It's dangerous. It is really dangerous. And like you were saying, over time, everything's got twisted and just manipulated, this and that, and to make it where it's more feasible to the human mind, more relaxing and not as scary,
Well, some of it is obviously, and we both know this, has been weaponized. We look at the narrative, magic and elements of magic and witchcraft and those things are now all of a sudden, they're popular. They're fad now. So you've got a lot of people that have jumped into the mix that are be like, oh, here it is. And they have weaponized it. They have taken it to serve a more personal narrative, and that narrative, unfortunately, more times than not, tends to be self-centered. It tends to be very one-dimensional. But these things do come and go in cycles. There was a period in time when magic was embraced. It was embraced by multiple cultures, and then the religious narrative kind of said, no, you have to follow these particular rules, and and we don't want people going outside of this narrow box. But things tend to come around full circles. Like I know you had an incident without actually calling out, but you go out of your way to point out certain things regardless of the consequences, as they say. And that's one of the things I really admire about you. You speak truth as you see it. You don't presume to say, hey, it's the ultimate truth. But, and I used the analogy earlier before we started talking about the old Knight's Code, to defend those who need to be defended, to call out truth, even if it's inconvenient, even if it's something that isn't popular. And that is reflective of character versus, the rhetoric that we see sometimes spun around. We both know there's plenty of people out there that pretend they're like, oh, I see these things around you. You're cursed. And for $200 an hour, I can remove your curse. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. This is fucking bullshit. We've now gone into this insane narrative, but this is reflective of human nature. It's not really reflective of magic.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly what it is. Human nature. Is a lot of scam artists out there. A lot of people just want attention, and they're not in for not for the right reasons. And that just makes all of us look bad, and it sets people in the field or people that's in the metaphysical world, or even religion wise, it sets us all back. It really does. Instead of going for the truth, it's not even theories. It's just lies. Well,
it's a control mechanism. It's blatant manipulation. I want you to think a particular way because I want you to do this. This is what I want from you. We use it in different terms. We talk about gaslighting. We talk about narcissism. We talk about all these different things, but they're just labels on the old human narrative of people do what they want when they want. And, the context of character versus rhetoric is a very thin line. It is the difference between words and action, as I like to say.
Right. I mean, it's control. Basically, it's just to control the situation.
Well, listen, fear, we both know fear is a powerful tool of manipulation.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you had made mention, and we've talked about this before, and we'll just hit upon this really quick, but you've been friends now for a while with Stormy Daniels, and unfortunately, she's been kind of caught in this double-edged narrative because of some of the things that she did in her past and some of her associations that she got labeled, for lack of a better way to put it. And you didn't buy into that narrative. You took it from, again, what I would consider the old Knights Code, and you judged it based on who she was. And you made a great point. Just because a person may have been this or that before doesn't mean they don't have gifts, doesn't mean they don't have valid opinions or things to bring to the table. But also in today's day and age, that's incredibly it's problematic because you've taken a stand to certain degrees. You say, you know what, she's my friend. I stand behind her and what she does, regardless of what anyone else may think. And, she's unfortunately caught in the crosshairs of some of the insanity that's going on in the political discourse now. Right.
Yeah. And I mean, and she's a great person. She is a great person. She's done so much for communities, different kinds, and a lot, oh my gosh, so many fundraisers. And she really is an amazing person. She would sit here and, say if I called her right now and I was like, hey, look, I need help, blah, 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 whatever. She'd be like, no questions asked. And here, yeah, I'll help you. Yeah, absolutely. Because she's a great person. You got to look at somebody's character, not what they do, what they done. It doesn't matter. And what she's done, it doesn't matter. I mean, she made money.
Well, listen, this is part
She's
of
a businesswoman.
Right. This is the dynamic that gets lost in the mix just because she did certain things. And you and I both know sexuality is one of those things that always gets weaponized. It has been weaponized since the dawn of recorded time. And especially, unfortunately, for women, they are cast in a particular narrative that if they act a particular way, if they think a particular way, if they talk a particular way, they are less than, they are this. And especially in the narrative, when you talk about her and some of the associations that she has, one of the tendencies that I've saw, and I felt, again, strongly about wanting to call that out, is just because she was public with her sexuality. Why does that make her less than? Why does it make her experiences less than anybody else's? Or more importantly, why does that make her unbelievable? Like the narrative, just because she did what she did, that somehow she couldn't have been abused, that she couldn't have been taken advantage of, or what she's saying is any less true.
Because people are closed-minded and they want to believe what they want to believe. And that's what they're going to stick to. They have their way set, and that's what it is. And it's ridiculous. It really is. It's just, I'm open-minded about everything.
But you know the woman. You are somebody, you read people. You're not somebody that just makes decisions based off of, somebody hands you a spreadsheet and says, well, here's the numbers. You actually go beyond that. You look at the deeper elements and you follow the actions again per se versus the words. And I think, and I'm pretty sure you'll agree, I think most of it is framed in the weaponized attempt to discredit, to cast her in a light that says, no, what you say doesn't count, it has no relevance, and more so importantly, that it's not real, that somehow that these things didn't happen, when we know within the narrative that it's been going on since the beginning of time. You know what I mean? This is not something new. It's new in the dynamic of, the people in question, and I don't want to spin this out all into that, but why does it make it so less believable just because of this? And I think it's purposeful. I think it is something that has been now adapted and really become part of our culture now, that weaponized empathy, that discrediting, that kind of flat earth approach is embraced now, because we haven't seen any real pushback against it. And I think we both believe that we're coming to a point where it has to balance itself. We go through it historically in different time periods, and I think we're at another one of those kind of crossroads in the wheel, that these lines have been drawn, unfortunately, because of the narrative of other people's actions. It's not that one person is so much more right or wrong, but there is context. And, truth is still truth, regardless if it's popular, pretty, or convenient in the moment.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in the internet's completely made all of it worse, because there's so many trolls out there that are hearing.
Well, if there's a Facebook meme, it must be true, right?
Exactly. And I mean, it's just, people just don't care, and they just want to say something. They just want to get out there and just be nasty against somebody. I could put a piece of evidence out there and just be like, I usually don't get hammered, because I'll put stuff out there that I truly think could be explained or not explained. I'm not going to put a freaking dust particle going across the fucking living room saying it's a ghost. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of that out there.
I could put stuff out there, and then next thing you know, you get some trolls. It's like, oh, blah 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 blah, blah, that's this, or you're that's blah blah blah. It's just ridiculous shit, just to be nasty and mean. That's just like anything else. With, say, if a woman puts a photo out there, and next thing you know, she's getting size shamed because it's fucking trolls. It's just, the internet is ridiculous, and it frustrates the hell out of me. And I'm like, I don't even look at comments and stuff anymore. I'm just done with it, because people are nasty.
Well, it's hard to, because it does have an energy to it still even more. It's like the radiation analogy. The more you expose yourself to it, the more it's going to have some type of effect. And it's hard sometimes to fight through it, but it's also hard sometimes to ignore it when it is obviously so blatant, because we see things sometimes, and especially, as you said, with the internet, you have these so-called influencers. It's like, hey, you know what I mean? You need cred. And, and it's just like, okay, this is just another used car salesman trying to sell us, some bullshit. And it is encouraged. It is part of the narrative that the only way that you can be somebody is you have to play these ridiculous games. I was talking last week about, the whole Super Bowl analogy got lost in the fact that Taylor Swift was there. And it's like, who gives a fucking shit if Taylor Swift is there? It's a fucking football game now. Now there's a satanic, conspiracy about the NFL is manipulated by, and it's just like, holy shit. Have we really reached the point that we're just creating, as you said, our own demons? It's the Frankenstein syndrome.
Yes. Yeah. Excuse me. Sorry about that. The more negativity you put out there, the more it's going to come back to you. The more it's going to stay. You put it out there in the universe. Say, if you sit here and you look at, you're reading all these comments and you're laughing at it, and they're all negative, or you're just reading them, even though you're just like, oh my gosh, just appalled by them, you're still bringing that negativity, and you're putting out there to the universe, and it's going to stick with you. It's not going to go away. That's why every now and then I might put something negative out there, but the negativity is trying to make a point that, hey, look, this person's screwed up. This person's in the wrong, and they're screwing my friend. So y'all check this out. You better be careful of this person, because you don't want to sit here and feed into the negative energy that they're putting out into the world, because it's going to come back and get you. It's basically, it's a warning. warning, hey, look,
Well,
y'all, I wouldn't want anybody to go through any of that. I mean, the more positive stuff we put out there, I mean, people don't understand how much it could change the world and change other people's lives, how it would affect them. The more positive stuff that we throw out in the universe.
but it's also reflective of the fear dynamic because people, let's be honest, are more conditioned now to not want to speak up because they don't want to be, ostracized. They don't want to be caught in the crosshairs, especially when you look at the online. And I understand it's a fine line. Once you engage the trolls, it's game on. You don't have a lot of fucking choice many times. So it's kind of
invited them in.
right. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. But there has to be a point where, certain things, they have to be called out for what they are.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Absolutely. Right is right. Wrong is wrong.
Now, tell us a little bit about, while we still have you, because I know you got some things that you got to get to. What do you have going on? Where's Dave going to be this year? What's going on in your world?
Oh, we got some pretty cool events coming up. It's pretty cool fundraisers. It looks like, let me see. I'm getting my list right now. I have to keep a list because I can't keep it in my head anymore.
Hey, you and me both,
so
brother.
Going on, the older I get, I think my memory gets worse. But let's see. So far, we got May 18th. We're doing Wilson Castle. It's a fundraiser there. We got that event going on. It's a great location, extremely haunted. We got also a movie that's going to be filmed there very soon, couple of months, called Demonis. It's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've been looking at some of the little things you've been sharing, and it looks like it's actually going to be a really, really entertaining dive into some of those spectrums.
Oh yes, paranormal plus horror. I'm one of the characters, Peter. That's paranormal investigator. It's going to be good. It really is. Let's see what else.
You get to actually play something that you actually do in real life.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I was like, as soon as they reached out to me, it's like, hey, want to be a part of this? Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Where do I sign?
Yep. Let's see. We got May 25th, we're going to be at Lake Swanee Amusement Park, the abandoned amusement park in Virginia. Be holding an event there. It's actually a sleepover, camping and stuff like that, plus investigation of the haunted abandoned amusement park. June 8th, we got Bell Mansion in Iowa, I believe. It's with Michelle Ruiz. She owns an event company. Actually, she's part of the Demonis movie as well. Let's see, July 20th, we got Black Swan Inn in Tilton, New Hampshire. August 3rd, Wilson Castle with Stormy Daniels. Stormy's coming up, and us two are hosting the paranormal event there. We'll be doing investigations.
That one's in Vermont, right?
Yes. Yep, at Wilson Castle in Proctor, Vermont. You'll be able to get tarot card readings and stuff like that from her. Let's see what else we got. We got October 18th, Wilson Castle Paracon, another event at Wilson Castle. We have vendors out there. If you want to be a vendor, just look up Wilson Castle Paracon on Facebook. We got a whole bunch of vendors. We got like 20, paranormal investigators are going to be there. Guest speakers will also be doing investigation. And that Saturday night, we are doing the Roaring 20s Masquerade Ball in the castle, which is going to be awesome. I don't think I think they've had a masquerade ball there in the past, but not like the 1920s theme to it, which is going to be pretty cool.
But just to quantify it, it's not going to be like the shine. So I want to thank my brother Dave again for taking the time to come out. And yes, as my mother queried, what happened? Yeah, this is the joys of technology sometimes. Crapped out right there at that little moment and stuff. So I immediately had to cut. And I just went to another one of the new tracks from Monica, Long Way Down. I will get that interview archived and up for anybody who missed it or would like to follow through. This is the joy of doing live stuff. So again, apologies, but I think we had hit pretty much everything there. I'm going to put some stuff up on social media in regards to some of the different events that he's got going down. I'm going to make it a point to try and get out to one of them, maybe do a live broadcast or something like that, or at least, record some stuff and bring it back, because it definitely interests me. I dance on the spectrums, as he had kind of mentioned. I've done the weekend warrior thing here and there, and I've been known to run in certain circles. Yes, I mentioned The Shining, and then it went poof. You know what I mean? And I even had the reference here, and I'll just pull it up real quick from the Overlook Hotel. Now, granted, again, it's going to be the masquerade ball, not the furry looking. Though I suppose if you want to come dressed that way, you really want to make an impact and come as one of those particular characters from the movie. But yeah, that was the running joke, was, it wasn't going to be, a Shining moment, and you're going to have little girls running down the hallway and the Hot Wheels and shit like that, and blood dripping out of the elevator. Though that could be an interesting experience. Listen, again, 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. It all really depends on how you look at it. But I'll definitely, Dave's a great guy. We have some great conversations. We'll definitely get him back again somewhere before the end of the year. So I want to shout out a couple other folks out there. And this is part of the Rochester Free Radio stuff that's, a part of my life. You got my brother Ed Contini. He's got a show Thursday, 3 to 5 p.m. Over the Edge. You can check him out, rochesterfreeradio.com. You can listen for free. Again, it's a nonprofit community radio station. And then you got my brother Judah, Rock the Rock, Sundays 12 to 3 p.m. Again, Rochester Free Radio. And then the three of us, we do a little thing Friday mornings called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And yes, we are real. We are not AI generated. We may be figments of Ed's imagination. We still haven't quite figured that out. Maybe we'll get Dave down here to investigate and figure out what's real and what's not. I want to give a special shout out to my sister Tivia out there. She just moved into her new house and dancing with all that groovy shit of making a home work. I know brother Judah's been dancing through it too. And Tivia's son Tony, much love to all of you. Hope it's going good. I'm going to get Judah on here. I'm going to get him to drop a couple fucks and fuckity fuck bucks and just kind of set him free, let him run around for a while and, explore what it means to be Judah. Love you guys much. Looking forward. And yeah, we're going to be dancing Friday morning. I also got a Monday night show that I do over there. And it's just, a little thing called the Music and Magic Show. Monday nights, 9 to midnight, give or take, a minute or two. Again, as a nonprofit station, one of our bigger struggles is the tech element. We got some great people on the back end, so that way we can, stream it, so that way people can, listen outside of the 20-mile radius of Rochester, New York. But hey, that's what we do. We're using it for good cause. We got some really cool shit coming down the pike. So one of the things I wanted to do tonight, besides a little bit more of the music, and I'm going to frame this behind a track that Sister Deb Magoni did that was actually nominated for a Grammy a few years ago. But it does speak to an element that a lot of us have seen. A lot of us have been feeling this way for a long time. And I'm going to use it within the narrative, as they say, of somebody who I believe really does speak to this. And he did. He spoke of it a lot while he was alive. Now, again, this is put into a context of a educational discussion, a reflection on the man and his words and his philosophy, just so that way the powers that be, don't lose their fucking minds and be like, oh, because that's how it is out here with, some of the copyright insanity, which, again, boggles the imagination considering, Facebook continues to stream softcore porn, and YouTube, you can go on and basically watch copyrighted movies that somebody else has edited to add their particular dynamic. But I don't know, it must be me because I'm obscene, but I'm going to fucking do it anyway. And I'm doing it on the back end just in case. So yes, if the feed goes down, that means that the powers that be have once again censored me and said, hey, fuck you, Wolf. We don't want you putting that out there. But I'm trying to follow the letter of the law, okay? So I'm going to dance within the box that the FCC and others have built. And again, I am saying this, it is for a educational discussion, and I will be, commenting along the way. But this is George Carlin's take on
the only true
the American dream.
American value that's left, buying things. Buying things. People spending money they don't have on things they don't need. Money they don't have on things they don't need. So they can max out their credit cards and spend the rest of their lives paying 18% interest on something that costs $12.50.
You're lucky if you get 18% interest these days.
Not too bright, folks. Not too fucking bright. But if you talk to one of them about this, if you isolate one of them, you sit them down rationally, you talk to them about the low IQs and the dumb behavior and the bad decisions, right away they start talking about education. That's the big answer to everything. Education.
Yes.
They say we need more money for education. We need more books, more teachers, more classrooms, more schools. We need more testing for the kids. You say to them, well, we've tried all of that, and the kids still can't pass the test. So, don't you worry about that. We're going to lower the passing grades.
Wonder what that could be about.
That's what they do in a lot of these schools now. They lower the passing grades so more kids can pass. More kids pass, the school looks good, everybody's happy, the IQ of the country slips another 2 or 3 points, and pretty soon all you'll need to get into college is a fucking pencil. Got a pencil? Get the fuck in there. It's physics.
My son knows that ain't the case.
Then everyone wonders why 17 other countries graduate more scientists than we do. Education. Politicians know that word. They use it on you. Politicians have traditionally hidden behind 3 things.
By the way, those
flag,
numbers are from over 20
Bible,
years ago.
and children. No child left behind. No child left behind. Oh, really? Well, it
Does
wasn't
anybody remember that? No child left
giving
behind?
Kids a head start. Head start, left behind. Someone's losing fucking ground here.
Yes, indeed.
But there's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason for this. There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed.
Preach it.
It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The big, the wealthy, the real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important
Citizens
decisions.
United, anyone?
Forget the politicians. They're irrelevant. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media news, all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying.
People wonder why I'm doing this.
To get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. You know something? They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that.
My mother had these conversations with us at an early age.
Obedient workers, people who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money.
They
want your fucking retirement money. They want it back, so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
None of us are
You and I are not in the big club. And by the way, it's the same big club they use to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care.
Some of us notice.
Good, honest, hardworking people. White collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hardworking people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you.
People wonder where I get it from.
At all. At all. Man. You know? And nobody seems to notice, nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on, the fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant of the big red, white, and blue dick that's being jammed up their assholes every day. Because the owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
I think, and again, I apologize for having to do it this way, but it's the only way to really do it live without just, again, driving the powers that be batshit, because they've created these systems because they don't want us engaging and reflecting. George Carlin said this almost 30 years ago. Okay. It was part of his stand-up routine. But if you listen to him, it's quite obvious he really believed that shit. Okay. He believed it and he made it a point. And that was really, I think, the magic of his comedy, is that it was so centered in fucking reality. It was the lesser of the two evil. And, you know, I've seen many interviews with him where he talked about it, that, you know, in many ways it was cathartic, that, you know, how else can you look at this besides, you know, in a comedic shade, or else it's absolutely fucking horrifying. And it's still fucking horrifying. But this is, again, part of something that I have believed now for some time. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't the case. But we need to continue to have these conversations, because they don't give a shit about you and I. They don't give a shit about our children or our children's children. It has been and continues to be a core element in what has destroyed every fucking civilization on this planet. But yet still, we're dancing around the same fucking stupidity. Yeah, listen, a lot of people have been saying it at different points in time. This is part of how the wheel, unfortunately, works. I do thank you again, Mother, though, for planting that particular seed in me. You know, I joke about it, but in all seriousness, you know, I would rather stare at it for what it is than to just kind of pass aimlessly by without a fucking clue. Not always easy to balance in real life. We all have things that we have to do. We have people we have to take care of. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got to jump through the fucking hoops. I get it. I don't begrudge it, but there is context. So if your purpose is to basically deceive and fuck other people, and especially without their permission, then you know what? It's got to get called out. We have to draw some lines. I'm not sure exactly where all the lines need to be, but I at least feel pretty confident where a couple of them need to be fucking drawn. So I'm going to dance this into a track that my sister did that kind of reflects on that element. It's kind of done in, I guess you could say, in appreciation for what she wrote. And I think I've segued along enough that if you know, the powers that be decide to snatch out that little fucking segment, Deb's song will play into this without any interruption or fuckery, hopefully. But this is a little thing that she did called It's All About the Money. And it's her perspective on it, not too dissimilar from what we were just talking about. But sit back and enjoy the video for this, and then we'll come back and dance a little bit more fucking stupidity. So yeah, some credits to the folks out there who made that track possible. And again, It was part of the Grammy nomination for Deb some years ago. Unfortunately, she didn't win. But listen, just to have that included, I think, is a testament to her ability and to her magic. And it's a sentiment that I and others share. So that's why I play it. It's what I do. Now, again, when I try and always frame this, we're not all going to agree on everything. It's never going to happen. We can agree to disagree, but we can find a better way to find a middle ground, especially on things that really reflect a better future. It's not going to all be pretty, but, some of it has to reflect what people actually need. And I'll use simple analogies. We need air. We need water. Okay? These are two simple dynamics that I think most people would agree. They don't want fucking chemical companies pissing in their water. And they surely don't want companies basically shitting on your face, so that's what you get to smell and breathe. And that's just the best way that I can put it into a horrible context. But when we talk about things like the environment, it doesn't have to be, climate control. It doesn't have to be global warming. These are fucking trigger words that just make people lose their fucking minds. It's just, hey, let's talk about a simple analogy. Nobody would want, if you're sitting on your porch and you crack open a beer and you're pouring it into a glass, nobody wants me showing up and pouring some diesel fuel into your beer. Okay? It's not hard to draw the correlation with what companies have been doing now for some time. And I'm not saying we shut the whole fucking machine down, but there has to be a line drawn in what is acceptable practices. You hear people scream about shit like regulations. Well, guess what? We have to have fucking regulations because people can't be trusted. Okay? There's the simple truth. All right? If you're going to trust a greedy piece of shit, okay, to do the right thing when they have proven for generations that they don't care about the right thing, what alternative is left? Okay, you can make the same analogy for a lot of societal behaviors that really are not acceptable. Nobody is going to say, hey, let's just bring back rape or slavery. These are things that we can all agree on are shitty, horrible things and should not be tolerated. The same analogy when we talk about things like murdering children, regardless of the context of how said children are murdered. Nobody's going to sign on for it. But we avoid having those direct conversations because it makes certain truths very inconvenient. And I'm not saying that to take the fucking play off of Al Gore. I'm just saying it in the simplest analogy. We can find middle ground. We can stop the insanity, but we have to choose to. We have to all be willing to certain degrees to say, okay, you know what? Some sacrifices are going to have to be made. Again, it's not all going to be pretty, but the alternative, and if you look at other places in the world and the type of shit that's going down, and if you look at it just from a pure historical context, it's going to be a lot fucking worse if we don't get our heads out of our ass. It really is just that simple. Now, again, to what degree does that make it your part? That's for each person to decide. But the little things that we can do, okay, when you have, say, a city ordinance that comes up and Exxon wants to build a new fucking refinery to pollute your air and water and give your kids cancer, tell them fucking no, okay? Stop listening to the political bullshit tax breaks because you're the one that's paying for it, okay? Every fucking NFL stadium, baseball stadium, guess what? Funded on your dollars. Okay, these corporations don't pay for it, and then they pay for you to come out there and engage in it. Think about it. A bank lends you money, and you're lucky if you're going to get, 14, 17, 18% interest. Hey, a lot of these places, especially with some of these credit card companies, you're going to pay 20, 25, 30% on it. But when you give your money to them to manage and make money off of, oh, you'll be lucky if you get 0.5%, maybe 1%. Think about it in the simplest terms. It's not rocket science, but they'll spin it behind other narratives of bullshit. But when you cut to the chase and just ask yourself again, would you trust them? Okay. Would you trust them with your children? I wouldn't even trust them to make a peanut butter sandwich. That's my go-to dynamic. Okay. Because that's how far off the rails we are with some of this. Now, again, take what you need, leave the rest behind. But I think a dynamic that we can all agree on, we want to enjoy our lives. We want our families to be safe. We want them to be happy. We want them to be prosperous. We want to want. We want to dance. We want to love. We want to sing. We don't want to cry. We don't want to suffer. So we have to do better. As my brother Ed Contini is so fond of saying, you know what I mean? We have to take care of those who need to be taken care of. Okay? That's what defines us. That's what defines us as a society, as a civilization, even as to the degree of a species. George Carlin was really, really fond of pointing this out. We're one of the only fucking species that does the things that we do. Now, somebody make the case, well, that's because we're in charge. It's like, yeah, but it's an oxymoron, because if we are in charge, then we could avoid all this. A lot of the shit that we do is stupid. It is the proverbial shitting where you eat. So it's coming, okay? Take a look at the weather around you. Those of you that have been around for more than, 10, 15 years, does this seem like, every other year? Because these past couple of years, sure as shit hasn't seemed like that to me. And I've talked to people who are hunters, scientists, people who work with airlines, you know what I mean? Guys who are fishermen, and they're all saying the same thing. The patterns are changing. The situations are changing. The animals know it. They're reacting. And yes, planet's always going to do what it's going to do. But, not unlike a dog shaking off fleas, do we want to be the fucking fleas? Do we really want to be shaken off when we have the ability to prevent it? Seems kind of fucking stupid to me. So anyway, enough of the ranteth, so he has said. And again, we're not going to agree on everything, but we have to start with some of the basics. We got to take better care of the world that we live in, and we have to start calling out the money lenders, the bullshit artists. And I know Green-Eyed Gemini, she's like, I just got a job as a car salesperson. Hon, I'm not going to hold that against you. Okay? We all got to do what we got to do sometimes. And I say that, and again, jokingly, because I tend to use the used car salesman analogy, excuse me, to illustrate some of the seedier ends of it. That doesn't mean every used car salesman is a piece of shit. You know what I mean? And, I'll own that. I'll say, hey, I'm just putting a rubber stamp on some of it. I'm using it for comedic purposes. I'm hoping Gemini is gonna kind of break the mold and set a different dynamic. We can do it. We can survive without having to fuck each other. Unless that's your thing. And, as long as you're upfront about it, it gives the rest of us at least a running chance. But then again, in the world of Acme Anvils and Wild E. Coyotes, who the fuck knows what's what? Just me, maybe. I'm obscene. So I'm going to dance into another band that I've been really digging on this past year. They're from Ohio. They're working on a new album. Band is Frail, #Witch Doom. And this is their cover of a Soundgarden track that they did as part of a tribute album to Chris Cornell. And then we'll be back, do the 2-year anniversary of one of my releases, and we'll see where it goes, as they say. So enjoy a little bit of Frail. Head down. daunting version of Head Down. And it's worth mentioning the framework many times of a song is lost. We all have our interpretations. It speaks to us in a particular way. We feel a particular way, et cetera, et cetera. But the reflection of that track, and I know this from talking to Gwen Strang, who is the lead singer featured in that video of the band Frail, that the struggles within mental health, addiction, and perceptual realities of the world that we live in drive many people into very dark places. So Gwen has made it a point to try and frame that not only within the music, but in a lot of the visualizations that the band, that the band uses, which is incredibly powerful because we need to do a better job of taking care of, again, as mentioned, of the people around us. One of the things, again, very useful tool, and, for anybody out there maybe that's feeling this way, you have 988, which is the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It is a 24/7 resource that's available. And, it's not everything that everybody needs, but it is something that can help. As Brother Dave Childers was saying, if you feel a particular way, talk to somebody, okay? Don't drown in it by yourself. Don't try and spin it within your own head, because that's probably what got you there in the fucking first place, okay? And some of you know that analogy and, how it can, not like a snowball, it'll just roll downhill and it'll just become a fucking avalanche and you get swept away in it. It doesn't make you less than, it doesn't make you wrong. It just means that you're someplace right now that's, let's be blunt, it's a place that, isn't where you should be. And just like, he was saying, sometimes we need people to help us, to support us, to give us the things that we need in a moment when we can't do it for ourselves. There's no shame in that. That's one of the greatest honors that a person can do, if you can frame it from the old Knights Code, is to help somebody in a time of need. So there are a lot of people out there that are willing, that are able. The 988 hotline is just one of many resources. You can find them online. Pretty much every hospital across the United States has available resources. Reach out, say something. You don't have to drown in it. You really don't. I also want to, again, and this is something that I'm going to try and go do, October 19th over at Wilson Castle over there in Vermont. It's going to be the Wilson Castle Con Psychic Fair and Roaring 20s Ball. They're looking for some more vendors. And obviously, this is going to be one of those moments in history that better to be there and experience it than, hear from somebody else. Don't get me wrong, we're all not able to do these types of things, but I think this is something that's really cool. I'm going to do everything I can to be a part of it, and maybe you want to as well, too. Now, I mentioned before the track, today is the 2-year anniversary of one of the first releases that I did, and it was a track that I did with my son, Matt Brown, Tony Rodriguez, and Jeff Thal. And it was one of the deeper, darker ones that I pulled out. It's a track called Demons. But the way that my son and I did it, we used an element that we had shared as he was growing up that reflected for him a lot of how he perceived not only human interaction, but elements of good and evil, humor, sarcasm, pretty much a lot of different things. And that little dynamic is called anime. So before people freak out, it's like, no, listen, all forms of art have aspects of magic to them. It's just how you choose to look at them. And I say this as a parent, one of the best ways that you can build the bond with your child, that you can build communication and trust, is to interact with them at their level with the things they like, even if you don't understand it necessarily, even if you are not per se into it. Give it time, okay? Be there, make that effort and that interaction, and I promise you it'll pay dividends. It is a worthy investment. I know this from experience, okay? Been dancing this for a few. It's not perfect, but it is the better approach. I say this a lot, and I'll continue to say this. One of the biggest mistakes we make as we get older, I believe, is that we lose the connection with youth. We lose the connection with innocence and imagination, and dare I say, magic. Okay? Magic is one of those beautiful words that you can put into so many different things. Okay? My mother's cooking is magic. The touch of my witch is magic. My son's humor is magic. Okay? These are just little simple everyday things that won't necessarily translate or mean anything to anybody else, but to me, it's fucking everything. That's my magic. I like to believe that my music, if it touches somebody, that's a form of magic. A lot of what I do is based around the narrative that it's a form of magic. Communication, understanding, tolerance. These are forms of magic. It isn't, again, the flaming wizard fireball type of shit. But if that's your thing, just, be careful where you're flinging said fireballs, because collateral damage is a real thing. But this track, again, was really important. I have to make sure now, because, again, the way everything's set up on this thing, and I have to get a little bit better with this. And I'm going to work on it. Shy and I are going to expand a little bit on some of the tech stuff, do a little bit of upgrading, and come outside of the comfort box. But I will always continue, as long as I'm able, to make music. Collaborative music has been one of the greatest joys of my life, next to my son. I really appreciate the magic that other people bring in their interpretation, their stories, their experiences, because that's all really music is. It's a story, it's a perspective, it's a dance, it's a reflection, again, of life. And when you hear the people talk about art imitates life, well, life imitates art. So these things, they go hand in hand. They are flip sides of the coin. In closing, again, special thanks again to my brother Dave Childers for bringing his magic out there. Looking forward to talking and seeing him again. As always, if you'd like to learn more, if you want to come on the show, if you got some original music, artwork, whatever the case may be, shoot me an email, wolf@oldwolfmusic.com, and we're going to close it out with Demons, and hopefully this will fucking work, right? If not, then I'll do something else. Again, this is the joys of doing a live broadcast like this. Hang in there. Remember, it gets better. You're not alone. Don't try and carry that weight by yourself. You don't have to. Until next time. And of course, see, I knew it. I felt it. I felt it in my bones. And it's like, that's not the right one. All right. Let's try this one other time. I've got another element that I think will work. Thank God for redundant technology elements. So I'm going to switch this over. I'm going to try it again, because the visualizations, I think, and especially, how my son came up with it, they go hand in hand. You know what I mean? The music has its obvious weight to it. What I wrote was, from deep shit. But my son's involvement in doing the actual video and some of the, side guitar work and everything that went with making the track what it is was incredibly powerful. You know what I mean? It was something that he and I have been exploring for a few years. So it was our first real, he and I type of thing. So here we go again. Maybe this time it's going to work. We're going to find out. Is it? Peace out.